But it's not a good situation for the museum in America now, no?
I mean, in general, no. I mean, it's a extremely difficult and I think dangerous one for museums. We're pretty much, I think, every museum is closed. Uh, no one really knows how long the closure will last. We are certainly closed through April, and we're evaluating after. And I think some might hope to reopen in May, others June, others are looking to the fall, and some are looking to next year.
No, next year?
Yes.
Why next year?
Uh, well, I mean, I would say concrete plans haven't been made yet, but that one doesn't really know. First of all, one doesn't know when restrictions will be lifted. So when it will be, in effect, legally possible. Then one doesn't know when it will be safe. But also, there's another question, which one doesn't know what precisely reopening would constitute. Uh, what kind of operation would be possible in the first weeks and the first months. And there's also a real thought that um, even if this period of social distancing is effective, which we hope it will be, it might not be the last. Uh, so the virus could wax and wane in the population, and so I think at this point no one is able to predict exactly what and when, and so we make projections, but I understand that those could change.
But also there's this big issue about the fact that most of the American museums are funded by private money, right?
Yes, well, I mean, I think most museums have a combination of funding. There are uh, there are many which receive some funding uh, from government, whether that is local, city, county, state, um, the federal government through the national endowments, but that's a relatively small amount. Um, so there are some which, there are any number which might receive, 30 to 50% of their funding from some combination of governmental sources. So there's that. And then, the remaining funding comes from in effect, three sources: earned income, so ticket sales, store sales, if there's a cafe or restaurant,
Yeah.
and also rentals, renting facility for private events. So that's one category. A second category would be contributed income, the money that donors, whether individuals or foundations or corporations, might contribute. And then finally, there are endowments. Um, but if you look across that, pretty much every one of those elements uh, is impacted, with the possible exception of government funding. And the question whether government funding might increase to compensate for losses in the other areas. Um, and certainly one area, the stimulus package that was passed by the Congress at the end of last week, um, that could provide some support under the category of small business loans, and forgivable loans for small businesses, and most museums qualify for that. So that could provide some help, particularly to keep continuing to pay our staff.
Mm. So what about precisely your institution?
Well, our institution has receives very limited government funding. We do receive grants from governmental agencies, federal, state, and local, and then we have substantial earned and contributed revenue, and also a substantial endowment. But again, each of those, with the museum closed, the earned income is um, uh, substantially impacted. The line that we hope to preserve is the rental income, because we had a number of events scheduled, and most of those we have or are working to postpone rather than cancel, so that we can keep that revenue. Contributed income, we'll see. On the one hand, there are, this is a situation in which a lot of people have less money, so might have less to give. At the same time, we've found that people in the donor community uh, understand that this is a moment that they need to um, step forward and dig deeper. And we've seen some remarkable instances of tremendous generosity.
Already?
So already,
Ah,
yes,
really?
yes.
Like what?
Well, funding, for example, to some funding has been committed for to help keep part-time and hourly staff paid.
Wow.
And that is not, that won't last indefinitely, but it will get us through, certainly the next month or more. And that's a remarkable gift. And we're
From who?
seeing
From who is?
uh,
You don't.
an individual and a foundation.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But I would say that and other instances where donors have made pledges, they have made good on those pledges. So we're continuing to see those pledges honored.
But it's a local. You have local support.
We have local support, yes.
Because you
Yeah.
are very much in a local background. I mean, a support locally, right?
That's right. I mean, we do receive some, national, support from individuals and institutions nationally, but the largest share of our contributed income comes from local support, local supporters, and and I would say that Dallas is a community known for its philanthropists. There's a tremendous public spirit here, and those philanthropists have, have been stepping forward, not only for museums but for charitable organizations across the community. So that's that is positive. And then, as I said, we have to see what we can receive from the government stimulus funding, and hope that will have a positive impact.
There's no response yet from the government.
Oh, well, there is a response. That is the stimulus package that was voted on last week by the United States Congress, and that there are elements of that in that package that everyone is still evaluating, but we believe that there are elements that can that can be used by museums, and so everyone is looking at that carefully and making application to receive funding.
Okay. And you have an endowment or not?
We do have an endowment, yes, and that it's a very good thing to have an endowment. The challenge, of course, is that with the decline in the financial markets, the value of the endowment has been reduced.
Of course.
So it's important that it's there, but we also hope to keep it for the future. So,
and is it a public figure? Do you have public figures for that?
Well, I can say it has been, in before all this happened, it was in about $100 million.
Which is not bad, no?
It's very good. We were very, very pleased with that.
You are lucky.
Yeah. No,
so, but now we don't know how much it is anymore.
That's right. It fluctuates substantially every day.
Okay. And what do you think of what happened with the announcement of the Met, which has a substantial bigger endowment?
Well, they have a much larger endowment and also a much larger budget.
Yeah. How many employees do you have?
We have about 50.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're quite a bit smaller than that.
Luckily.
Well, it's all relative. There are advantages and disadvantages, and we don't. We're also a difference is that the Met is in normal circumstances quite fortunate to have very, very high attendance, and so earned income from ticket sales and such is a much higher percentage of their annual income than is typical for American museums. And for most museums, and the Nashers included, ticket sales might give us about 4% of our total revenue. So that 4% is precious and we need it, but it's a very different situation if you're looking at a 50% reduction.
You think it's 50% for the Met?
I don't know. I think there's public information on that though.
Okay.
And I think it's a much more substantial percentage.